Welcome csc121 to the spring 2020 version of Rock, Paper, Scissors using Python, and we're working in Replit. And the code I'm looking at right now is actually the version from 2019, and I did provide instructions to use that same kind of code because it worked fine. And I am going to try something different, but I just wanted to review this first and just point out that we start this off with an import random module, because we're going to be using a random number to generate either the rock, the paper, or the scissors from the computer. And then we're also going to use points here, for U points and comp points. I think in the new version we changed them to just the letter U and the letter C in the new version, which I'll go over. And I think even the function name I'll change as well. But we start with 0 here, and then we're going to basically use it as a counter and increment points. And that way, when the computer wins, they get a point. When you win, you get a point. And when it's a tie, no one gets a point. Now, the only problem with putting these points in a function, we're going to use a function, and the function is called way here at the end. Here's user choice. That calls the function. The only problem is putting these points in and then incrementing them is a problem, because we're declaring them or assigning their value globally in a global scope, and then we're going to be incrementing them in a local scope, which normally isn't a problem, except then we're going to take those points out and we're going to use them in another function. That's actually the issue here. And one of the things we're going to do is try to avoid that, and also to see, instead of running the function multiple times, to see if we can actually use a loop. Now in this scenario, let me just go over what happens here. We have an input where it's user choice, so I'll just hit run over here just to demonstrate it one more time. And what happens? It says choose rock, paper, scissors, and we can actually put in an R, P, or an S. Now if you don't put anything, if you put in a D and you hit enter, it's just going to start over, because there's an else at the very bottom here that's saying if you don't enter any of that stuff, please enter R, P, and S, and then it just reruns the function. And it reruns the function inside of itself, so it's almost like sort of like a loop inside of itself. So it does that. Now if I actually just play rock here, and I'll hit R for rock, it says I lose, and there's an instruction saying paper covers rock, so it says Y, and then it also says you have 0 and computer has 1. So computer got a point for winning that one, and then it restarts again. Now what actually happened there, just to look at the code to see what happens, is when I chose R, it's one of these first 3 of the if, elif, elif. Now they're all elifs all through here. There's like 9 if, elifs, and they're 3 for choosing rock, 3 for choosing P for paper, and 3 for choosing S for scissors, and then the 3 for each thing that it goes up against, because it'll either go up against 1, 2, or 3. It'll either go up against scissors itself, it'll go up against paper, which it'll win, or it'll go up against rock, which will get crushed by. And that the same scenario works with each one. So I chose rock, and what happened was, it doesn't say what number came out, it doesn't display that. You can, but it says paper covers rock. So what that means is the computer choice was 2. So I chose R and the computer choice was 2. So if this scenario came about right here, my user choice started with R, and then the computer choice came up as 2, which is this random number came up here. Now when that happened, it said you lose, paper covers rock, computer points plus equals 1, so it incremented the computer points, and that's how it got 1 point. And then it ran this checkpoints function. Now that's important, because if you go down, there's a whole other function here called checkpoints, and that basically has an if and else, and the way it works is in the if condition. If somebody has 3 points, the game's over and it stops the game. And if not, then basically it just shows the points. So it just shows the points here. That checkpoints shows the points. And then what it does after that is it restarts the function again, just like it does here. It restarts the function. So it runs kind of like a loop. So this checkpoints function actually has the user choice function in it, which allows it to start over again. So we're kind of doing it without loops, but using multiple functions inside themselves. So that may be more confusing, or that may be easier, I'm not sure. But we're going to do it both ways. This was the way in 2019, and I do have 4 videos for that. There's part 1, 2, 3, 4 under the spring 2019 playlist for csc121, which you could just watch those. So I'm not going to do this over, but I just wanted to go through the process here. So that's what happens here. There's 2 functions actually running. And if I go back up to what happened here, because nobody had 3 points yet, it actually reran it again. So then this gives me another prompt. So then it jumps back up here, it reruns the function, and it starts the prompt all over again. And then it asks the same thing. Whatever I put in, it converts to lowercase. That's what this line is. And then it generates a random number, and then it matches them again. And then we also need this line in here, this global, in order to avoid the error of having local scope, viewpoints, and comp points in here. We redefine these as global so we can use them again and then actually take those points into another function. So that's not a hard workaround, although it's recommended as bad practice. So we'll try to work around that and do something that's good practice, and hopefully it won't be much more difficult. But I mean, that wasn't hard to do that, but I guess on a bigger scale, using global inside there may be a problem. But anyway, that's the way this works. And then again, I always like choosing R here. Now it's tied up. I'll use R again. And now I have 2. I'm winning. And now it's 2-1. No score because it's a tie. Now it's 2-2. Now when someone gets 3, it means that the game's over. So it says you win, rock crushes scissors. So it gives me the win of that particular game, and then it gives me the game over. So then that's when this check points down here actually ends it. So this ends it here, so it doesn't loop anymore. So this continues at looping, this user choice here, when you don't have 3 points. But when you do have 3 points, it pretty much ends the game right here. So nothing loops anymore. And the game's over when someone gets to 3. It's 3 out of 5. By the way, in the video, the old video from 2019, I say best of 3, and it's not best of 3, it's 3 of 5 technically. So anyway, that's the way the one worked last time, and that works fine. If you want to do it this way, there's videos to watch to do that. What I'm going to try to do is try to use a while loop and have this thing loop through a while loop instead of rerunning the function or recalling the function again. Instead of having multiple function calls all throughout, I'm going to try to do it with a while loop. So that's what I'll do in the next part of this video.